Welcome back to the Three Benchwarmers Podcast, where we talk about all things Detroit sports. Um, Great week in general for Detroit sports. Particularly, I guess, had a good start with Michigan winning the national championship, and I think that overshadows anything that else that happened this week, whether it be the Tigers or a certain
Does it really?
yep a certain team from Detroit that plays hockey. But I obviously would like to start with saying that I don't care about any of it. Like this week is all about Michigan. So anything that we talk about and discuss in this episode should always be overshadowed by the main thing. Michigan are national champions. I know this is a football shirt, but trust me, I'll get up by next week or in the next month. I'll have a basketball national champion shirt.
You know what? Close enough, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's just start on the Tigers because, they play a lot of ball and we have to christen the bear for the week. I think Riley Green, I don't know if it's recency bias, but he had a very good series against the Marlins and he is able to get a few hits a game. So I like Riley Green or Riley this week for the Bear.
I would argue that it should be Colt Keith. He is
What is this
just been
Colt Keith propaganda you've been on?
dude. He's been our most consistent hitter. He's gotten a hit every single game. He's been good in high leverage situations. There's a reason why he has our highest batting average out of obviously every single player. Yesterday he batted in a run. Today he got a hit, and then he scored from it. So I mean, having a 350 batting average like he does, it doesn't come from nothing. So. And obviously, this wasn't the only series. Like the Marlins series wasn't the only series this week. They've also played the Twins and where they got swept. But I mean, he was basically our only consistent hitter that entire series, and I think that's half of the games played this week. So I think we should take that into consideration as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine like last week picking Colt Keith. So at least it's not Kevin again. I mean, Kevin, no
He
shade to
he
Kevin.
deserves he could deserve it. I was
Yeah.
Yeah,
seriously
he actually
considering
played
it.
great today. So did Riley Green. But I think Riley Green's based on expectations, his performance is subpar a lot of the times. At least, I mean, it's early in the season. But from what he's expected to do, going 1-4 every game usually is not the best. So, I mean, Colt Keith, I mean, he has way less expectations. Not many people talk about him as like a foundational part to the rotation. So I'm fine with Colt Keith. I mean, he bats over 300, and I hope that continues. I mean, we need someone like him and Kevin to, keep stepping up because we've been waiting for someone to bat consistently for years now. It's just a
Yeah,
horrible
gotta
problem.
gotta play guard ball and just get contact, in any way, shape, or form. I mean, that's why they're so good. Yeah, I don't know, just
Colt it is then. This is the first name change, so we've gone Kevin, Colt. Will I remember all of the names by the end of this? Absolutely not.
you should keep track. We should honestly we should do it by week and keep track and see who's been named the bear the most at the end of the season. That'd be an interesting
It's really
award.
hard for a pitcher to get this. I think Scooble did pitch twice this week, but one of them being a loss if he did pitch against the Twins or
Yeah, he
the
played
Cardinals.
pretty poorly. I think it was the first game against the Twins. Correct me if I'm wrong, but
No, that
yeah,
was
he didn't.
Casey Mize. Let me just make sure.
I'm pretty sure
It was the second game against the Twins. He let up 4 runs. So, I mean,
yeah.
I guess if you're a pitcher, you have to pitch 2 good games, but I don't know, or
Yeah.
like statistically just dominate one game. So,
Yeah, I think towards the end of the season, pitchers become a little more important, just based off the importance of these games, so they kind of are highlighted more. They also pitch more innings, so I think towards then back end of this a lot more pitchers, but obviously with the batters, like it's really important to see, and this is kind of what we've been looking forward on the off season, is looking at how the batters perform, particularly because never really had too much of a doubt in this rotation, although it has shown some cracks, particularly this week. Not against the Marlins, luckily, but especially against the Twins and then the Cardinals too. A little the last two games of the series, particularly. So, um, I mean, somehow our batting is performing better than the pitching. It seems like at least at at certain points throughout this start of the season. So hopefully, we can play some better complementary baseball instead of just being good at one thing and bad at the other.
There's a guy in the minors that's been playing pretty well. You guys think Max Clark could have a chance at coming up at any point?
The only thing I think of when I hear the name of Max Clark is him dropping a perfect fly out while wearing like 50 pounds of chains on his neck. So I think he has to prove it a little more in the against bigger players. Maybe next season, but not this season. I don't see it.
Nah,
Yeah,
he'll
because
continue to shoot in the minors.
yeah, I mean, I've been seeing it online. He is batting like 350, I think, but obviously it's a whole different game, and he spends all his money on VC for drip instead of his overall. But I mean, that's just a certain point we could look, but I don't know. I was just thinking because
Look
there's
good,
got to be
play
some.
good. That's the mentality there.
All his stubs, by the way, Austin, not VC. VC is a different game. But I don't know. He's just an interesting character. But McGonagall is obviously the better prospect out of those two, and we've already seen it and have an impact in the big leagues. But having good prospects like that isn't a bad thing. So hopefully they can continue to develop him and McGonagall, honestly.
Yeah. I hope Kevin McGonigal, as you said, continues to be the hope in the batting lineup, and everyone starts to, ramp it up. Torkelson has been playing better. I know we were on him, but we've been having some torque hits as per recently. So
Speaking of
early in the
which,
season, a lot of those averages and whatnot are skewed. But I'll let you get to your point.
do we have do you have any sort of figure that would represent the bum of the week
Oh,
this week?
yeah, we do.
No, we did not think of anything.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, the trash can. Yeah, you gotta.
Do we have a
AJ
bum for the
Hinch it.
week?
Sure, let's hear it.
No, I was asking because we don't have to nominate one, but if someone
Well,
stands out, just know.
we got swept by our division rivals. So I think there is some reason to nominate a player for the bum of the week. I don't know. I mean, Framber did have a pretty poor outing.
What
Pretty
was his
bad.
stats? What were his stats again?
I think he pitched 5 innings and gave up 8 runs.
Check it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm checking. Yeah, it was 5 innings, 10 hits, 8 runs, and only 2 strikeouts. So
Didn't he pitch the
So
game right after school bowl? And
yeah,
then
and
AJ Hinch was like, "Yeah, we probably shouldn't have two left-handers back to back. That's on me. Like that wasn't supposed to be the case, but like how do you just like forget?" So, in that regards, AJ Hinch, this is your fault. You can take the trash can this week.
yeah.
Framber, you
Yeah.
got saved, buddy. Another one of
Only-
those
only
though.
fitting.
Another
Only
one of
fitting.
those. You won't see mercy. All right, we'll go to a team that's
Yeah.
not trash. Actually secured the 1 seed despite all of our doubts. Officially done. The Pistons. Without Cade. I think they did it last week, but now it's more about these last few games are a formality. Just kind of keep everyone healthy. See if maybe someone can step up near the end of the year. A young guy. This is their chance to get playing time. Especially now. Right now we're playing the Pacers. I'm not worried about what happens in that game, regardless victory or loss. But hopefully, Cade gets worked back into the rotation. After having his punctured lung, or is it punctured or collapsed? Right.
Punctured would be pretty devastating.
Right, he would have had to been shot. But collapsed lung. But if we look at the play-in race, there are 4 teams gunning to play the Pistons right now. There's the Hornets, the Heat, the Magic, and the Sixers.
I mean, you could also add the Raptors and Hawks. I mean, they're all within.
The Hawks
like,
could be as high as the 5th seed and be as low as the 8th seed, I still think.
and because today is the last day of games.
I'm pretty sure the Hawks clinched the top 6. So
Okay. So I think the Raptors and Magic can fall, and obviously the Heat and Hornets are competing for that just seeding
So
in the
officially,
play-in.
who is in? So Magic, Heat,
Hornets and Sixers are in the play-in.
Hornets, and
No,
Sixers.
the top 10 teams are all at least in the play-in, and the top 5 teams are
No, top six
in the
teams are in the
playoff.
playoffs. Top bottom
Well,
four
I'm
are
saying,
playing.
but like clinched as of
Oh,
this
okay,
exact moment.
but
Yeah,
from 5 to 10, the
from
5 seed is
from
still up to grab.
six 5 seed is already made, so
The
the
six
Hawks
seed,
have already
yes. All
secured.
right,
Yeah,
yep.
so 6 to 10 is unknown as of
Okay,
now.
but of those teams, right? As a Pistons fan, who would you want to verse? There's a very obvious in my eyes, no, no, thank you. Don't touch me with a 6 foot pole type ordeal here. Don't like get domestic assault charges type ordeal, but like
Well, I think with that domestic assault claim, I think I know who you're talking about. And I'd honestly, just as a fan of basketball and someone who wants pure entertainment, I'd love to face this team. And obviously, we're talking about the Charlotte
you
Hornets.
did not watch that game in
They're-
like January or February where hands
Did you
flew.
watch that game
I
like two
did.
days ago? You did, yeah, and you saw what it was. We put BTA. LaMelo was out here talking every single possession, and it didn't matter because the Pistons beat him by 20. And I think if it comes down to like a playoff series between those two teams, it's very obvious who the mature ones are, and it's very obvious who
I'm
who
not
the
worried
team
about
is who's
winning the
mature.
series. I'm worried about what happened in earlier in the year. Some tempers fly. We lose some guys for time, and it just
Listen, that's
turns
not gonna
into a
happen. I think we've
collapse.
all learned. I think they've all learned their lessons. You saw Beef Stew holding his emotions back that game. Obviously, speaking of him, by the way, he's playing today, so he's back from injury. But he was obviously very restrained that game. So I that would just be very entertaining, and especially if we get to go to a game or two at LCA, that would just be great. Seeing Lamelo cry and lose. But speaking of which, the one of the two games I went to this season at LCA for the Pistons, one of them was against the Hornets, where we beat them pretty badly. So that was fun to watch. It was fun. Lamelo fouled out that game, I believe. So um, waving him goodbye was kind of fun. His weird ass.
Yeah, yeah, he like literally he does stupid shots and they go in. But yeah, I don't know. I would rather. I honestly would be fine playing the Hornets. I mean, whoever we face has to lose a play-in game or be one of the bottom two teams. So I mean, I'm not too worried about the first round, but having the Cavs waiting there for you most likely is just that's where it starts getting concerning because it just doesn't feel like the Pistons are who they are, which maybe it's just because I'm not used to it. But I mean, I like playing teams like the Sixers and stuff. You never know, especially if they're healthy.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna be cheering for one of the Raptors, Hawks, or Magic, whoever gets that 5 seed, um,
Yeah,
to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers because obviously if Cleveland win and Pistons win, they're on a crash course to play in the conference semis. So, um, and we've obviously seen the Cavs have the Pistons number, or they've honestly had it since like 10 years ago. So, anytime they play each other, even in the playoffs.
Yeah,
So,
speaking of the one
hopefully,
game I went to at LCA was
yeah.
against the Cavs early in the year,
Mhm.
and the Cavs put BTA. I saw Thomas Bryant play last like 5 minutes of that game. So, that let that pour into consideration, and they've only gotten better getting James Harden over Darius Garland since I've seen that game. So long as he can stay healthy and fit and not fat and stay out of the nightclubs of Cleveland, which are plentiful, I'm sure, um, they'll be a tough challenge. I do think the Pistons should be able to get over it, but you never know. You never really.
Yeah, and I guess if there's nothing else to say about the Pistons, obviously playoffs start next week, so there's gonna be more to talk about then. I guess we can move on to the last team from
Yeah,
Detroit
let me
that
do it.
they.
Third
Okay,
week in a
yeah.
row, right? We have officially the bomb has dropped that the Pistons are the 1 seed, which is odd that I said that then. But the Red Wings are officially eliminated from playoff contention. scientists have discovered a fork on the table. This has been known. All right? The math means nothing. The math means nothing here. We're seeing the Buffalo Sabres make the playoffs as a dominant team and handing their streak of garbage, of actual manure, of Buffalo crap to the Red Wings and saying, you have to carry our streak now. You are awful. Blow the team up. Blow up the stadium. Start again. I don't care that they share it with the Pistons. Start again. Start again. Rebuild the city. Blow it up. 2008 all over again. Blow up the city. Rebuild. Rebrand at this point. What are we doing? How? You were top of the conference for the entirety of January and most of February. And to go in for the third year in a row and suck balls down the stretch is unacceptable. Is unacceptable. If Chief Keef lived in Detroit, he himself would personally blow it up. That's my rant.
I can't really add much to that, Mark, besides, like, I guess blow up Hockey Town and make it Basketball Town, because basically that's what it looks like it's going to be heading towards. Obviously, maybe the Red Wings should move out to Auburn Hills and be that stupid team playing somewhere else, and the Pistons obviously stay in Detroit, because those two teams do not deserve to share the same floor and stadium and arena, or whatever you want to call it. Like, just I don't know, man.
It would be great if they moved to Auburn Hills. Unfortunately, there are companies that have claimed that land, as I have been there recently.
Amazon. Yeah. No, that's
actually,
sorry.
Who has claimed the land? A Vinnie Johnson owned company in Piston Interiors has claimed that land.
Oh, the Palace land?
Yes.
Really?
They are building a warehouse there. So
well, I know Amazon just claimed the entirety of what was once the Silver Dome, but yeah, interesting. Those are obviously the same area, but I don't know. Like, maybe they should just move to Toledo at this point.
No.
I wouldn't care.
Flint.
In fact, Ohio can have this team, bro. Give it to Cleveland.
Straight to Flint,
Cleveland
bro.
deserves a team like the Red Wings. Actually, is perfect for them, honestly. Perfect fit for the city of Cleveland.
Send them to hell, Michigan.
No, bro.
Marquette. Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah, Milwaukee. Send them to Milwaukee.
Zilwaukee. They don't get Milwaukee.
That's.
I'm done.
Send them to Zug Island at
I'm
this
done
point.
with this team. Moving on. Move on.
Yeah, I think we can just skip over the Red Wings, because as I started this episode with, there's only one thing that happened this week in Michigan, in the state of Michigan, when it comes to sports, and it's the Michigan Wolverines winning the national championship. And man, I mean, that just, like, is the best way to end something. Like, if only they won that game against Purdue in Chicago, I would have no complaints at all about this team. And in fact, I don't, because they won the Natty, so what else, nothing else matters. But jumping off of that, with the college basketball season being over, obviously for Michigan State it ended sooner, as it always does, compared to Michigan. You'd like to kind of recap the season, then we can go on and talk about some brief discussion about the transfer portal and certain players to go after. But right now we would like to recap the season, and particularly look at specific players on these teams, and kind of rate them, discuss who was overrated, who was underrated, who performed to their what they were expected to perform. I think we did this in the middle of the season, but now that it's over, we can get another perspective on it. Yes, Mark, if you would like to start.
I'll start with Michigan then. Overrated is a hard one, but of the starters, I guess you would want Namari Burnett to have more of a role, but he wasn't rated highly to begin with. I don't know. That's a tough one, I would say, for Michigan. Overrated. Maybe I think they're all fairly rated personally, unless you guys have someone in that
I
jumps
don't
to your mind.
know anybody that people overrated.
Alex, do you have an
I
overrated?
think they were.
I can't. Like I think my emotions with this team are clouding my judgment, but some of an overrated. I think everyone was, if not perfectly rated, underrated on this team because that's what made them so excellent.
I
I
think the
literally
only
can't think of.
person who was rated publicly to the well known is Yaxel, but even then, I wouldn't say he was overrated.
Hold on. I thought everyone was like amazing, and that's why Michigan won because they just spent 20 million on a squad of all stars, and everyone was amazing. Like everyone was they were expected to win this, right?
Yeah, they
I
they
thought
built the
that's what I
Avengers.
thought
You know,
that's what it
all
was,
five
right?
starting five was transfers. So,
Yeah, and I thought all of them were amazing, right? They all no, and there was zero criticism about any of these players before the season, right?
oh, 100%.
Not at all. 100%.
Zero.
Yeah.
You know, Yaxel even he did the noble thing. He came to Michigan, like offered them what poverty amounts of money compared to Kentucky. So,
Dude, Bedunga just committed to Louisville for 5 mil. He Flory Bedunga, the guy that can do nothing but dunk, committed to Louisville for 5 mil. Imagine if Yaxel was like in today, like in this season's market, trying to stay at Michigan or transferring from UAB. He'd probably cost like 10 mil to come back. So thankfully, he kind of actually cares about his personal development and winning, unlike some other players, and didn't took his personal well being over money coming here. But yeah, he was like the only player that people actually rated. Mara, everyone thought he was immobile. Even I kind of criticized him at the beginning of the year. Immobile, couldn't shoot, couldn't finish, uh, unaware, sloppy. All these things were things said about Mara. Guess what? You didn't see any of that in the last couple of games of the season. Say Morez barely played at Illinois, and people criticized him for that. Same thing with Cadeau. Cadeau literally was like kicked out of North Carolina by his own fans. So, you see all these players and how they improved their game and stepped up, especially towards the end of the season. There's not a single player on this team that was overrated, not at all. Even Amari Burnett, he maybe didn't. He was the worst starter, but that doesn't mean he was overrated. He was perfectly rated. In fact, Dusty knew how to rate him because he only played like 20 minutes max a game. So, and obviously the entire bench just outperformed. Like they could have started, any of those players could have started, and the team would have been fine. So yeah, there's no one was overrated from those three, and then obviously LJ if you count him as those four.
okay, we'll move on from the overrated to the underrated debate. If I had to pick someone for underrated, probably because he got injured, but LJ Kaysen, what his impact was when Elliot Cadeau would have his off nights, it was unspoken. Like in that Northwestern game, comes to mind immediately. LJ stepping in when Elliot Cadeau was having a bad night. So I think because maybe the injury has clouded judgment, I will say LJ Kaysen for underrated.
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with any of the bench players, to be honest. Besides, Will Cheddar is Will Cheddar, but Roddy Gale, he's good. But like, yeah, LJ Case. Trey McKinney was pretty highly rated, so he obviously basically took over a starting role essentially with his minutes, like 10 points a game. But I would say him if he wasn't like a 5 star. Obviously he still did great things, but I do think LJ Kaysen definitely improved a lot since the first year under Dusty May, where he didn't look as great at times. So I'm fine saying that. I don't think any of the starters were like too underrated to the point where it wasn't like by the end of the season obvious. But I don't know.
I'm
I like
surprised you
LJ.
guys didn't mention Elliot Cadeau.
For underrated,
Yeah, think about it.
he had a
What were
spotlight
people?
on
What
him
were
the whole
people?
time.
What were people
I don't think
saying?
underrated is the correct word to use. Like if I had to describe to make a category for Elliot Cadeau, it would be most improved. Like it wouldn't be that he was underrated.
What? Wait.
I
What
think
were
he
people
was
saying about him?
overhated. rather than underrated.
But the idea of being overrated the idea of being underrated comes from the general public's view of a player. And if the general public's view of a player is that he's the worst person on the team and he's going to be the reason that Michigan loses in the tournament, and then he proceeds to go out and be the best player on the court for over half the games, and especially when it mattered the most in the last two games, I think that is the definition of underrated. And it's not just like people's view of him in the middle of the season that gets me to say that. It's people how people viewed him coming in. Um, People thought he couldn't shoot. People thought he was too sloppy. And by people I mean UNC fans in particular, and Duke fans, and everyone from the ACC, but that actually watched him play. But also Michigan haters. They were very quick to criticize Elliot Cadeau. Um, I mean, obviously there were digs at him being deaf and blind too. But besides that,
That's a little far.
um,
That's a genetic condition, guys. Come on.
yeah. But I mean, that's the point. The lengths people went to criticize him. The entirety of the season, from when he signed at Michigan last spring to quite literally the week before the Final Four, people were still saying he'd be the reason that Michigan would lose. He's the worst player on the team. He sucks. He can't shoot. All these things, and he just shut all the haters up, every single one of them.
He still has
So
another year
if
to
that's not underrated, I
arise
don't know
more
what is. I'm
haters.
sorry.
I think he has another. I don't know. I think next year will be very telling. I'm not saying it diminishes at all what he did this year, but he is coming back. He is going to have to step into probably a larger role, not having the quite the front court that he had. Trey McKenney is going to start alongside of him, and then they have to replace the Axel. We don't know if Adai is coming back or Morez, but I think both of them, maybe one of them should come back. I'm not entirely sure. There's not much news on that yet. But I think we all agree that the point guard position was underrated at the very least. We'll leave it at that. MVP.
Everyone's coming back. All everyone. The three guys we mentioned, LJ, Trey McKenney, and Elliot Cadeau will be coming back next year. So it's going to be interesting to see if
Well,
they
LJ
can.
won't play, but he'll be back.
Yeah, but he'll be on the team, and then obviously, I mean, if think about this. So LJ played for Michigan last year. So he started playing in 2024. It's now 2026, and he'll be playing. He will be eligible in Michigan in 2029. Just think about that. He'll be if Michigan continue to perform well, he will be playing for Michigan as their starting point guard in the Big 2029.
The big
So
2-9.
I think, and obviously Dusty May signing a contract up until 2031, I believe, 5 years. Um, bright future ahead. If it can get better, than what happened this year. But
All right, let's hear your guys' MVPs. I would like to go last here.
Looks good.
yeah, no, Austin, you go.
I mean, if you look at the season as a whole, instead of just the tournament, 'cause that's also important, I would probably pick Yaxel. I mean, it seems like an easy pick, but I mean, you get the All-America honors. You're obviously very important in in terms of being on the court versus off the court. At least during the regular season, there were stretches where it wasn't the best. But I mean, he doesn't stuff the stat sheet every game, but I think he was definitely one of, if not the most important people on the floor. So I mean, I think that's an easy pick, but that's who I would pick.
That's fair.
Yeah, and I mean, you can even looking at like the national championship game, he scored 12 points, and he was very influential on defense with chase down blocks and contesting shots, and people thought he had a really bad game. So, that's the kind of season he had. But my take, and let me know if this is wrong, or like weak of me to do this. But I think the MVP of the season was Dusty May.
Fuck, that was my answer. Damn it. That was my answer. Yeah, it was a very balanced squad. It was, I think he was able to pull people out when they were having bad games, and he was able to identify all right, maybe Yaxel's not having his best night, take him out, and we can put in Will Cheddar for a little bit, coach him up, put him back in, he'll be fine. Elliot Cadeau, you're stinking the bed, come out. LJ Kaysen, you go in. Trey McKenney, you go in. I just think that he was very adept in the situations. He was very attentive, doing his job, but also he was just coaching them to. I think he was fifth in a scoring at the end of the year in terms of total points per game in the NCAA, and a very highly rated defense throughout the entire year. So I really do think that Dusty does deserve the honors here. Not taking away from anything the players did, but I'm saying without him, you probably don't see the amount of dominance. Maybe you still see them make a deep run in the tournament, but maybe not the total dominance that they showed throughout the whole year.
I mean, just the way he treated his players beyond basketball. I mean, that's part of the reason why this team was so interconnected. Just I don't think you'd see this team perform that well, even with Hall of Fame caliber coaches, like a Calipari, like an Izzo, you know, even like a Hurley. Honestly, you just don't see this team perform as well
I don't know. Dan
because
Hurley would have ran everyone with this team. Yeah. Dan Hurley I think is in a league of his own right now, considering he just
no,
brought that UConn team and
it's
kept
just
a close game against Michigan, which Austin said last week had no right being there. So
I agree. I think he does well to bring the talent out of players and hard work. But I don't think this team needed extra talent to be brought out. I don't think this team needed to work harder because they're already very hard workers as players. I think this team needed a connection and good chemistry because they were best not when a single player was performing well, as we saw, but when the entire team was able to move the ball well, they were switching well. There's all these tactical small things, all these like minor communications during the game with each other that they did so well and performed so well with that that's what won them games. That's what made them so dominant. I just don't think there's a coach in basketball, never mind just college basketball, in basketball that has the ability to influence his team in that way as much as Dusty May did, because he's not one to yell at his players. He's not one to extremely motivate them to by either punishing them, yelling at them, doing an Izzo and saying that his mother can beat him on a 1v1. Like that's not stuff you'd hear from Dusty. He's the one that helps these players move in when they come to Ann Arbor, carry their couches upstairs. He's one that tells them they can take breaks from basketball when they're struggling with stuff. And obviously these are real things. Like Yaxel, obviously his mother got cancer, and he was offering obviously all his support to him. I don't think you'd see that with other players, with other coaches. I think they kind of leave these players on their own and focus more on the basketball aspect. And obviously, Dusty May organizing a lot of things in terms of keeping this team together. There's things like that. I know you're gonna say power of friendship, right? But like how that's kind of funny in a way. But there's not many coaches left like that or that exist at all. So
And you know what?
you
Two
know,
of them are in Michigan, if you really think about it. Because Dan Campbell's like the same sort of guy. I think he is like a mix of Hurley and Dusty in a way. Like he's definitely a motivator, but also definitely has compassion in a way. Anyways, off topic.
maybe
But
maybe not as much now because he's his ego's grown a little bit pretty clearly in these last couple of seasons. But yeah, particularly that first season where the lines were actually somewhat good. It felt like that might be a good comparison.
anyways, let's do the same thing for MSU, overrated, underrated, MVP. Oh wait, sorry, we missed one. Um, we'll call this the trash can of the year. We'll just for Michigan, I I don't know what you want to give it to, like Winters Grady or something. Like who am I giving this to? Like no one.
He is transferring, by the way, so go ahead and I guess it's valid now to talk
Got to
trash.
be Malik Cordell. I'm
Yeah, I was gonna
sorry.
say Malik Cordell he's also transferring, by the way. So the two players we mentioned won't be playing for this team anymore.
All right, Malik Cordell. There you go. You can have it.
Actually, I have a new candidate for MVP. I think it's Charlie May. That three against Tennessee was kind of clutch, but I think that's the
I
defining
think
moment
the
of the
real
season.
MVP is Howard Isley Jr. and we just all overlooked it.
Yeah.
I'm being serious. Anyways, MSU basketball overrated, underrated MVP, and the one who shall not be named. I think this team has a lot more debate because there's clearly talent gaps in this team, and it's not as fluid, bringing in some bench guys. So overrated, it's Trey Ford, isn't it? Like you come out of Sanford, 4-star transfer, and then you're expected to fill into the shooting guard role. You lose your spot to Divine Uguchukwu, and then you fall behind Jordan Scott even. It's not a good look. You did not play well. I mean, there was some games down the stretch where, okay, you hucked up threes and they finally went in. Yippee. But overall, throughout the season, I would have to say that he was the overrated one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have any debate there. In terms of like what you would want out of players, though, I think that moving on from the front court is a good thing because they definitely limit the ceiling of MSU, and they have for a couple years. Because against like physical front courts, they just can't score. So, but in terms of players, I definitely think Trey Fort. I mean, you can't be a 4-star transfer, and the tape was there for being honest. I mean, he did some horrible shots at Samford on a daily basis, but he needs to
Oh, he
like
got
get a
away with
job.
it because he was at a mid-major in Sanford. So
I think the most overrated player on
don't
this
you
Michigan
just say
State
Jalen
team
Fears and move on, bro.
is Cohen Carr
Oh,
because I didn't see him do a single good thing against a single good team this entire season. He had his highlight clips against Indiana and Maryland and whatever other you know like mid-major schools they played at the start of the season. But when it came to playing a decent matchup, he could not shoot. He could not outmuscle these actual like decently physical players. He couldn't get his alley oops going, which is like the only way he scores any points. And I think part of the reason why he's so highly rated is just because of his highlight clips. But that's the thing. That's just the only thing that's good about him. I didn't see him perform well defensively against these great teams. Obviously, I mean, you can go look at the UConn game where they lost. He probably had a really bad stat line. I can't remember,
I'm looking at it right
quite
now.
frankly. But like any of these important
Cohen
games, it seemed
Carr,
he was
13 points, 5 of 9 from the field, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 block, no fouls.
like, that's. But I don't think that kind of speaks onto how he actually performed. He had a couple games where he actually made his threes, but those all seem to be against worse teams. And I kind of am thinking about him against Michigan in particular. He was just it seemed like as soon as teams knew that all he would do was like cut towards the rim and try to go for alley oops and teams would stop that, he would be just non-existent.
Do you want me to read you
So
Trey Ford's stat line from that same game?
Trey Fort was quite quickly thought of as a bad player. So I
6
don't think he was
minutes, 1 of
overrated.
3 from 3,
I,
1 of 2
I,
from field goal, 2
I don't
fouls.
Trey Fort wasn't overrated because everyone thought he was bad. We even like in November and December were talking poorly about Trey Fort. So I don't think yeah, he was a worse player than Cohen Carr, very obviously. But I don't think he was more overrated. And I kind of want to say Cohen Carr because Cohen Carr is pretty highly rated if you ask anybody. But in reality, he's not good. Now, if he starts working on his jump shot a little more, then maybe we have something. If he starts, if Izzo kind of teaches him the ways of the game, how to move off the ball, besides just running directly at the rim every single time, then yeah, then sure. But up until this point, unless he just was physically better than these mid teams, whether it be Maryland, Penn State, um, Indiana, you didn't really see too much from him. So, but there's obviously there's a lot of room for improvement too, coming with
One
that.
whole
So.
year left for improvement, but you never know.
Actually,
Uh,
no, he's
he's coming
declared
back.
for the NBA draft. So
No, he's
you
coming
know,
back. Yeah.
obviously not coming back.
Anyways, um, underrated. I would like to nominate Cam Ward. I think it was good enough freshman year from him, pretty solid off the bench, and his role only grew more and more throughout the year. So I don't know his transfer news, but I don't, if I'm Cam Ward, I don't see any reason to not come back. Your role's only going to get bigger. So I think Cam Ward was the most underrated.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know how he led his state in high school points because he can't shoot from anywhere within outside of the 3 foot mark of the rim. So no touch, no free throw, no mid range. Definitely a hustle player, gets rebounds, but in terms of being like in the future being a 4 in the season, gee, there's such huge spacing problems. It's crazy.
As if
I
that
mean,
wasn't a problem with
Yeah,
Michigan's front court
Cohen
recently.
Carr was a 3, and that is kind of why I thought he was exposed. So
yeah, Cam Ward is the same height as Jordan Scott and does a lot less. But I think I'd probably give it to. I mean, Jordan Scott compared to what anybody expected of him is a huge jump. I mean, he's a 4 star, supposed to be a project, but he obviously had to take on a starting role with injury and whatnot. But either him or Carson Cooper from beginning of season expectations, I think improved the most, and I would still call underrated in terms of what their stats show.
A lot of what I saw
yeah.
in Carson Cooper to begin the year was just negatives. That he was just very awful last year, and at least this year, he was able to show some touch, show that he can actually get his own. I mean, Jackson Kohler at the beginning of the year was hot, and then I would argue throughout the year that it went Cooper one game, Kohler one game, in terms of who they were playing through, and then they got to the tournament, and I think that dynamic kind of got to them in a way. But to be fair, they did run into Dan Hurley in March, which the only guy to beat him past the second round is Dusty May. So yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. Olix, who do you have for underrated?
kind of tough to choose because all these players had their stints. Obviously, maybe if you asked me in February, I would have said Jordan Scott. But he kind of died his like his kind of ability to score died out towards the end of the season. Obviously Carson Cooper is a big player that I think he's more of a underrated player than Jordan Scott just because he was older. He kind of was already expected to be washed, for lack of a better word, but he definitely was quite successful in terms of uh, you know being that presence in the paint, even against bigger teams, which is kind of what I'm looking at games against good physical matchups, and he performed not too poorly. I know you guys said that Michigan State kind of wasn't able to perform as well in the paint when they faced a good physical defense, but I mean I can just go back to
I
both
mean, they
Michigan
beat
games. I think
Purdue.
Yeah, Purdue. I think Carson Cooper was a big reason that happened. Obviously, the whole like emotional thing of him being there for 4 years now is kind of also, you know, interesting to say the least, or cool, I guess. You don't see that too much in college now. Um, so I give him props for that. And then I think a player that we haven't mentioned for a good reason, I guess, is Divine Ugochukwu.
It's
I
hard.
think
It's hard with him because he got injured.
But
If
you immediately, as soon as he got injured, you saw the impact he had on the team with them. Obviously, their offensive efficiency in particular lowering so much because they didn't have a shooter anymore. And
they they didn't
you
have
didn't really
a
hear
good
anybody
player.
talk about him, to be honest. So maybe, that's also a guy that I would put in there. If you guys said LJ, or if yeah, both of you said LJ for Michigan, I think it's only fair that I can say Ugochukwu for Michigan State.
Yeah, I
That's
mean their
fair.
defense fell off a cliff after he got hurt, so
Yeah.
'cause they just couldn't close out on anybody, and they went from like number 1 to the mid hundreds over the last couple weeks of the season. So, and especially with Wojcik being hurt, also, it just his impact was definitely more important than people thought it was, despite him not really putting up huge numbers.
Wojcik was definitely a hard worker to say the least.
Yeah, I was gonna go to the MVP, and I thought we were unanimously gonna say Denim, but I fear there might be a little bit of debate here. Just
Uh,
for Jeremy Fears, I don't. That's the first name that comes to mind. When you think MSU in this past season, you think it's synonymous with Jeremy Fears. I mean, he didn't play his best ball in the tournament, but he did try to contribute in ways other than scoring. So, you know, I think he led the nation in assists with 9 point something, which is crazy in college. So, he has the talent. He's coming back for another year. So, let's see how that rides out. Probably, or at least an early contender for National Player of the Year. But I don't know. There's still a lot of new guys coming in, and the transfer portal is still to be figured out.
Trey McKenney is going to be National Player of the Year next year.
Right.
Okay. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I guess Austin first.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have any complaints with Jeremy Fears. I think that he's going to go to the draft process and they're just going to tell him to practice shooting every single day because that's about what's missing. I mean, the speed and the playmaking is there, just horrible field goal percentage. But I mean, in terms of impact on the team, I don't see anybody else that could have that amount of impact. So I'm fine with Fears.
Yeah, it's kind of sad that it's Fears though, because I mean, his reputation is tainted mostly due to his own fault of just being a horrible player in terms of his composure and mentality towards the game. At least he's not Darren Peterson asking out of the game. You know that it could be worse. He could be more hated.
Here's the thing: Darren Peterson will get drafted by the Washington Wizards, and they will become a powerhouse.
Yeah, they'll become a powerhouse for the first quarter when he scores 20 points and then decides to not play the rest of the game. Um, yeah, no, Jeremy Fears obviously is the MVP. I mean, there shouldn't be any debate about it, but it's gonna be interesting to see if he can actually, gain some maturity over the offseason. Maybe going to the combine and getting opinions from scouts, and I'm sure besides shooting, which is obviously the main concern, they'll mention some things about his ability to not kick people in the balls. So maybe if he works on that a little and doesn't give up possessions and techs as much as he did, and obviously his turnovers also were kind of going up towards the end of the season. I think him and Cadeau really like switched roles in terms of ability later on in the season. So
Like on some, what was that one really bad movie with Kevin Durant in it, and that one kid who switched powers?
I think that
Also knows what
I
I'm
know
talking about.
there's this like a soccer movie about that. I think it was Ronaldo and some kid, but um
It had
like
thunder in the name, anyways,
I know
continue.
I think they ran into each other and like they swapped whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, but yeah, that's I
Thunderstruck,
guess
is that what it's called? Yeah.
I'm not sure. Probably I probably watched it before, but I just don't remember. Um,
No, I
yeah,
get the point though. Ellie Cadeau did channel a lot of his playmaking down the stretch. I did clown on him for his performance in the semifinals, but they were counting all of those lobs that hit the backboard as shots, which on rewatch, I would like to apologize to Olix, and that's about it. Now, MSU basketball worst player, I have a candidate. His name is Jesse McCullough. Literal terrorist. Literal terrorist.
Yeah, I mean, if we're on ability, probably Wojcik, but yeah, I mean, McCullough didn't provide anything this season. So, I mean, compared to what he needs to be next year, if Izzo doesn't get anybody in the portal, then that's a little bit concerning because he can't do anything. He's not very great at defense, but
He's supposed to be a stretch big, and he can't really even shoot, so.
I don't know.
well, I guess, and again, don't people are gonna say I'm doing this for clips, but I think the worst like candidate on Michigan State was the one and only Tom Izzo. I think he was the main reason why Michigan State. I guess the best word for this would be like they definitely everything went downhill. It seemed like after the first couple months of the season, and you can say it's because of Uchuku getting injured, but I think there were already signs. Izzo's scheme for this team just didn't fit. It was very, very, very reliant on Jeremy Fears being successful in his playmaking abilities, not turning the ball over. Hence why his stats were so, I feel like, kind of inflated. Because he was just the entire team was so reliant on him. He wasn't able to, really get those bigs to play as dominant as they should have, given their size. Cohen Carr again just didn't develop at all this year. I don't think as a player. Um, I can go on and on. Like this team only got worse throughout the season, and I think there's only one person to blame when that's the case, and it's Izzo. Now I'm not saying he's like the worst. Obviously, if we just go off worst ability as a player, you would bring up the Jesse McCollums of the world, the Denim Wojciks,
Trey
but
Fort, you're not safe either here. Just let it be known.
Trey Fort, right? But I think in terms of the most negative impact is Tom Izzo because he just like
I would like to disagree
and
tremendously.
not to mention his stance towards recruiting and getting players, that's also his fault. So the fact that Michigan State wasn't as
Here's the thing:
talented
in Michigan
as they have
State,
been in
in
the
a
past.
year where they weren't supposed to do what they achieved, Tom Izzo made them the 10th best team in the country, gave them a 3 seed, and they made it to where they were supposed to in the tournament, losing to what we just said was the best coach in
They had
college
a
basketball.
much higher upside than where they
They
finished.
did, but what
Seeing how
all
they
of the
played at the
state
beginning of
fans
the
are saying is
season,
that next year is the year. They have the recruits.
every next year is the year. People said next year was the year a year ago. Like as soon Izzo's at fault to blame because of the lack of talent that Michigan State had. Now people say, okay, Michigan State wasn't a talented team. They didn't have good enough players. Whose fault is that?
Um, it is somehow Jesse McCullough's fault.
Yeah, exactly, right? Like you can go on and on. Izzo's just not gonna win another natty if he keeps on the way this he's he's still pretending it's 2000, the year 2000 rather. But it's 2026 and it's catching up to him and it's very obvious in terms of how he plays, how he communicates with his players and especially how he recruits. Like right now the transfer portal's open and you haven't heard anything about Michigan State besides one like Alabama center that you haven't heard too much about him either. So,
Is
and
Kurt
you
Tank staying or not?
every other
I'm
team has
curious. I don't
already
know if you have that
gone
up.
what?
There's rumors of Kurt Tank leaving. I don't know if you have that up or not to see if
Okay,
he's
well, leaving is one thing, but I'm saying recruiting somebody to come to the school. I mean, frankly, if we're left here with two freshmen that are unproven, that are taking over the front court, and then a Jeremy Fears and like a Jordan Scott, I guess would be the two. Like that's kind of just running him back from this year with a worse core group as a front court, and you won't like it'll be the same thing over and over again. Oh, this team's so great. This team's so great. And once it's March and they lose to a better team than them, they're going to be like, "Oh, well, we never had the talent. This was always the expectation." Okay, but that was the case because you didn't recruit guys right now. Because you didn't, build your team how you're supposed to in the big 2026. So, I mean, uh, gosh, I mean, for the sake of Michigan State, he has to adopt or just retire and pass it on the program to someone younger that understands and honors the new system of NIL and just college basketball as a whole. Because you hear Duke and Illinois battling for Blackwell, you hear Louisville recruiting Bedunga and Shellstad. Obviously, UNC is competing with Michigan for Juke Harris. Every single one of these teams that are so-called blue bloods are all getting players from the portal and being successful and gaining success with it. Michigan State has done nothing. The one person they signed was the person that we named as the most overrated player on this team. So I mean in the transfer portal. So take that as you will. But I think he has had the most negative influence on this
didn't
team's
Divine
success,
come in from
not
the
just
transfer
this year, but
portal
the
last
past
year?
3 years. Huh?
Didn't Divine Ugochukwu come in from the transfer portal? And
Yeah,
you
so
were
did Caleb Glenn.
and you were just shooting your praises at Divine. So you know, it's
Yeah, I was, but at the same time, I was saying he was underrated. I wasn't saying that, he's the most influential player on this team. I mean, when we were talking
something
about players
about
on
him going
Michigan,
down, defense going from first to 100th. You know, it's a
yeah,
whole
but even
thing.
even when their defense was first, they were losing games to Nebraska and Michigan and teams like that. So Again, take that
Well,
as you will.
Nebraska won the Natty, or I'm sorry, not Nebraska. Michigan won the Natty, and Nebraska was a team that could just get hot in an instant, as we saw in that first round against
Nebraska
Troy.
scored what? How many points did Nebraska score that game? Like 50? How much for getting hot?
I don't know. They were one of the slowest paces in college basketball. So
Michigan State was partly because of their slow pace was also, considered a good defensive team.
I don't know. Michigan State played a lot
Whatever.
in transition.
Like,
Anyways,
I will die on a hill saying that Izzo is a bad coach for the Michigan State going forward from now on. He wasn't a bad coach, but he is now. So I don't think they'll
Yeah,
win a natty with him at head
probably
coach.
gonna. He's probably just giving it one more good chance because I really think they're only if they can actually get a center who can produce, unlike the past 10 years, which they have never had. And I think like just put someone who's 7'3" down there, even if they're not amazing. That's probably better than what they had this
He
year.
won't
So
get it, but the thing is, he won't because that's not what he just doesn't believe in it. Like Ethan Taylor's going to play there, and obviously he's going to make his mistakes as a freshman because he isn't a top 10 guy. He's a, what, top 30 guy? He's like a Trey McKenney type of player, but Trey McKenney was definitely, you could see that he was very well developed. Maybe Izzo successful. Maybe he hits the jackpot. But you also saw Matty Sissoko 3 years ago and what happened with him, and then you're like, okay, well that's the last decently recruited center that they got, and he obviously completely failed at that project. So it's going to be
yeah,
interesting to see
definitely a
if he.
project. Ethan Taylor plays off the bench for his high school, and he's that highly rated. So it's pure. It's definitely just for upside reasons, which is why I think he definitely needs somebody in front of him. Otherwise, it's going to go quite poorly because the three and
Well,
the
that's
four
that's what I'm
spot.
that's what I'm saying. Like, there is nobody ahead of him right now, and I haven't
Jesse
heard too much
McCullough.
about.
He's
Oh,
definitely
but
not.
of course.
He's not playing the five, bro. I'm sorry. He's never going to play the five. He's a four man. And honestly, their guards are fine, and the wings they have two starters, so it's definitely
Is
just
Cohen Carr
yeah.
really a wing? I'd rather find another wing and play Cohen Carr at the four, but
Well, that's what I'm. Cohen Carr's definitely
Yeah,
playing the
I think
four.
it's the four.
They have Caleb Glenn who shot 42% from three his first two seasons, so should be a little bit more spacing. And then the guards they at least have somebody to come off the bench so Fears doesn't play 40 minutes a game. That's
uh,
not horrible. So
the entire identity of Michigan State is rebounding, and if that's their lineup, then Izzo will have to adapt, and I just don't think Izzo will be willing to adapt into like that kind of lineup is perfect for them to go on these really these games where it's extremely fast paced, like a Bama style of player, like even Michigan how they played earlier on this season, but Izzo isn't going to want to do that unless the other team scores, and then yeah you go run. But as soon as there's any sort of like actual rebound, then it's all half court offense. So yeah, I guess it'll be interesting to see if these one or two
Does
last
anyone want
years
to
from
look up
Izzo
a
actually.
way too early prediction for the college basketball rankings and see which one is supposed to be? Granted, I'm just wanting to hear the public opinion here because transfer portal will change a lot of this. Who comes back? Who leaves?
yeah, it
Change a lot of this.
seems quite impossible
Not
per
anymore. I
portal, but
mean, Michigan is, I think, one or two in every single poll, or I guess website, not poll, but
yeah. But
um,
when I saw the one on ESPN, they had Mara and Merez in the lineup, so
like yeah, you
I don't
guess
really
you can't.
know what you can take from that.
Yeah,
And
Yeah, Jeff Borzello has Adai Mara and Merez Johnson in there, so
last thing
yeah.
I'll ask before we move on from MSU. What is Oh my goodness, how could I forget this question? All right, never mind. I guess it wasn't important. Oh, sorry. When does the transfer portal close? That was the question.
I have no idea.
Never, bro. It's always open. It's
I'm
the
not. I'm not
entire season's open too, as we saw from certain coaches. So
Yeah, it's
I
just
guess
it's pretty impossible to talk about top 25, especially when Providence is all of a sudden going to have good players on their team. Like you never
I
know.
think
You could just
Louisville is also big. I mean, Shellstead and Bedunga. That's going to be
Louisville
really
was good last year. Louisville spent a lot of money. Louisville, they were the
yeah, but
ones.
they didn't have player dude like Shellstead was the
They were
year
close to
before.
the trapezoid of excellence. I don't know what you're on about.
Louisville got destroyed by a subpar performing Michigan State team in the tournament. So I think that says all you need to know about them. But this year they definitely have better players. Regardless, I guess I guess we were kind of talking about this already with Michigan State, in that Michigan State needs to maybe find another wing from the transfer portal, and then obviously get a center from the transfer portal. What do you guys think Michigan needs to do? Obviously now they got JP Estrella that committed, but there's a couple of other prospects and Juke Harris and um, believe they're going after someone from Santa Clara or St. Mary's. I forgot. One of the teams from the WCC, one of the big guys from those two teams. But um, what do you guys think Michigan needs to do in order to, have another shot at winning it all next year?
I think
I don't know.
what needs to fall into place first is Mara and Morez before you can think about the rest of it, because you can scramble around and sign players,
But I
but
guess
I
I
think
guess to
retaining the
preface
core.
this conversation, then to actually get an answer, um, Mara will leave, Morez will stay because that's kind of what people are saying right now. Obviously, no one actually knows, but that's kind of the consensus right now. So if that happens, if Morez stays and Mara goes to the draft,
Well, then of course you need another big man. Maybe
you got
even
JP Estrella. Do you think he's going to be satisfactory?
I think he's a good backup. Like as a freshman, I was gonna say rookie, but as a freshman, you come in and you sit behind. What are you guys looking at me at? Oh,
It's
sorry, sorry,
definitely a
sorry, sorry,
transfer
sorry,
point.
sorry, sorry.
He's a transfer,
All right,
but
I lack ball knowledge. Anyone else take
he
over?
played for Tennessee. He was kind of okay.
I just think he didn't play enough. Like there's a small sample size. He was very efficient in his bench minutes, so there's definitely a very high upside. But a lot of based on public opinion, at least for now, they're pretty conservative on his contributions to at least being on the bench. But I guess not too sure.
I saw some people comparing him to Will Cheddar for some reason.
I don't know about that.
Like the only similarity between those two players is that they're both white and nothing more. So it's kind of funny to see people, talking about Will Cheddar in that sort of way. But yeah, I don't know. I think Dusty May doesn't really care if they get someone else or not. They're just going for it all. Like at some point they were in the race for Blackwell. Obviously, that kind of fell apart because Blackwell wants like 7 million, but they're in a
He's
race
gonna
for
get it
every single
somewhere
position.
too.
The best players at every single position in the transfer portal. So whoever they get, I think Dusty May will incorporate into the team. And normally I wouldn't really, be satisfied with that, and I'd be talking about positions and things like of that nature. But after what we saw last year with three centers coming in and somehow obviously getting them to play the best basketball that I've seen played in college in a very long time, like you can't really doubt what Dusty May's doing. Obviously, Brendan McCoy, I think yesterday or the day before had a big game for the Team USA in the some youth NBA showcase where he played really well. He's coming into Michigan as a top 15, some say top 20, some say top 15, some say top 10 recruit. And then you have what two other recruits from the top 50 in Quinn Costello and obviously the other guard. I forgot his name, but he reclassified. He was a top 10 recruit in the year after before he reclassified. So you have all these players coming in too, and you kind of wonder where they're going to be incorporated because if we're going after transfers like a Juke Harris and if Morez stays and JP Estrella, are you going to just have four like five, no, not like borderline 5 star, not four, but three borderline 5 star, maybe 4 star recruits, freshmen that are coming off the bench? Like, is that kind of what Dusty May's trying to do? Have three Trey McKennies. It's gonna be interesting to
It's
see.
not a
And then
bad call right
obviously,
there.
yeah, yeah, and then obviously players like Oscar Goodman. Hopefully he comes back because he showed some like ability to
Worst
perform.
haircut I've ever seen, but
That doesn't matter. He's a pretty good basketball player. Malik Cordell and Winter Grady's are gone, so I can't really talk too much about them. You also players like Howard Isley Jr. You want to see how he performs, but yeah, uh, no, but like you have all these players, and you can like normally if you'd be going after players in the transfer portal, they wouldn't want to come because you have 8 guys that can already play at a very high level on your team. But these players are still interested in Michigan because of what Dusty May did this last season. So I think anything is possible now. Now in this new era, especially with a coach and a team like Michigan and Dusty May. So
Yeah, I just think teams like are these players in the transfer portal, especially centers, are just the value is way lower than what people are expecting to be paid because of they've seen what Michigan and the Purdue's and UConns have done the last three so years, where centers are just really important in the paint. So the people average 3 points a game and want over $1 million. I think you just have to be a little bit picky with who you want. So people say find these 7'3" guys from St. Mary's who move like cones. And then you have to just be careful on who you go after. So I think I would trust Dusty May from what we've seen the last 2 years. So I'm not too worried. But if you lose Mara and don't replace him with another center, you'll definitely be a lot shorter this year because I know the other recruit they have that's tall is facing health issues. So I'm not too sure what's going to go on with that.
testicular cancer, by the way.
Yeah,
Health
because he was supposed to be like
issues.
7'3" as well. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, I trust Dusty May. He probably knows more about who's leaving and coming back at this point than we do. So
Hopefully he
I can't.
does.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't want to get.
he was contributing to the chance of when Morez was getting interviewed in the celebratory events yesterday that occurred out here in Ann Arbor. And the crowd started chanting one more year. Dusty May was kind of joined in on that, so that was interesting to see. Maybe that's a sign. Obviously, Morez already had an interview with NBC, I believe, where he said that he's not opposed to coming back to Michigan for another year, and he didn't really didn't give anything specific. But based on what I've seen and heard, I think the best option for him, and I think this is what he's gonna do, is he's gonna go to the draft,
Like a
or
Fierce type
declare
situation.
yeah, like a Fears Cone Car type of situation where he goes to the draft, gets feedback from NBA scouts, and then comes back for another year and raises his draft stock. He's already late first round pick, so surely one more year he doesn't fall. Like it's gonna be difficult, especially if he's playing and if he's going to be the main target in the front court, which is expected to be unless we get some shock transfer. But I don't think that's gonna
I don't know.
happen.
We've seen some older players boost their draft stock, i.e., Yaxel
I think
Lendenborg.
yeah,
So
yeah, actually, the best
it's not,
example. Mara.
yeah, it gets to a point where you're call it like a lot of people will say, oh, he's an older rookie, but contending teams, that's what they want. They want a guy who can come in and play meaningful minutes immediately. Yes, that's what they
Who's a
want.
rookie?
Huh? I'm saying
Who's a
in
rookie?
general, like a team would want to draft a rookie like Morez Johnson if you were to stay another year,
Oh, right,
if you
right,
were to
yeah,
stay, because he would
yeah.
be more ready to contribute then. Granted, there's less you can develop because, he's reaching his ceiling more so in college than he would be in the NBA. And we've seen that with different guys in the league. But yeah, I don't think staying could hurt his chances at all of getting drafted. And then I just realized we could do this again, or I could go through quickly and just do this for Oakland, overrated, underrated, MVP. So I'm gonna do that. Overrated, Tubaru Naivalura, preseason Horizon League Player of the Year. Didn't even make first team all. I think he made third team All Horizon, which is a stretch. So that's overrated. Underrated, Isaac Garrett. If he didn't get injured, he definitely would have made one of those Horizon League all teams. MVP, I think, despite your guys' lack of Oakland watching, who would you say it was?
I think it was the big Nassim Mashour. Mark, do you even know who that is?
Yeah,
You better know.
he got
Yeah,
his tore his ACL.
yeah, I know. No,
He is the
obviously.
only player, fun fact, from Oakland coming back for this year. Let it be known.
See, see, bro, MVP for a reason. He's the only one coming back. That's why he's the MVP.
No, it's Brody
No,
Robinson, and he
Cody
sued the
Robinson.
NCAA for another year of eligibility. So whoever gets Brody Robinson, congratulations. You let Oakland just develop him, and then he sued the NCAA because JUCO or something, and now he's gonna be gone. So like, what do you do? At least we got Richard Hamilton's son, and that's about it so far. But